Stock of the Day is brought to you by IG, Australia's #1 CFD provider. Trade over 17,000 markets with extended trading hours on key US shares and competitive spreads, all on an award-winning platform. Get started at IG.com.
Now, the stock of the day is Iluka Resources. I noted it in a day where we are not seeing too much momentum. It was a strong performer. Goldman Sachs revamping its list of high conviction Asia Pacific stocks going into 2025, and there are two ASX stocks, including Iluka Resources and Worley. Now, the zircon producer has been named by Goldman Sachs as one of its picks going into 2025. They've got a buy on Iluka with a price target of $7.70, noting the company's leading position in the zircon space with a market share of around 30%. Iluka's cash flow position also leading the brokerage firm to consider the stock as undervalued. And further, Iluka has announced it's now expanding into rare earths with a new refinery in construction. All right, doing well today. Let's get to Mark Gardner and find out what MPC Markets thinks about Iluka.
Yeah, Lucas, it's an interesting one, and like many of the resources stocks from last year, it realistically coming off a pretty low base. So while I would say, Goldman's, the upgrade, look, they're not being particularly brave, I wouldn't have thought. Iluka's got a really strong balance sheet overall, fairly healthy EBITDA margins. Having a quick skim over the Goldman's high conviction was obviously around supply gaps, potentially for zircon. As someone who's been very bullish copper for the last sort of 12 months, with the industry calling for the massive supply gaps, I would be probably fairly wary on buying a stock on the back of that sort of that sort of investment thesis. You probably want to have more than just that to be buying the company overall. But I think the analysts have unanimously got a buy recommendation across probably about 5 or 6 recommendations here on this one. And look, I do think the resources sector is very cheap leading into 2025, just overall really. So you're getting things at actually, really cheap valuations. So across the board, I think it was the second worst sector last year, the materials sector. So they are moving into rare earths as well. So if trade wars kick off, particularly in rare earths, China's got a stranglehold on that. And they have embargoed rare earths on a number of occasions in the past. So, it's very critical in terms of battery technology and battery manufacture. So, that's a pretty good space to be in, particularly as I think the Chinese have actually limited supply or banned export of niobium or some of the critical minerals that are in battery tech to the US already. So, rare earths is likely to be on the list there at some stage. So there will, there'll be a bit of a tailwind there if they do shut off the rare earths, and obviously the zircon as well, with the predicted supply gaps. So I think trade wars is going to be a really good thing for Australia because we're a bit of a neutral party realistically. I don't think China and the US can do without us. So we might get a little opportunity to be, fairly friendly and neutral between both of them, because obviously China wants to stimulate that economy and get things rolling again. And the US Trump is alienating, pretty much most of the major resource exporting nations through BRICS. So, if they're going to be able to produce anything and bring manufacturing back, like he's saying, we're going to be needed. So, look, I haven't obviously had a lot of time to prep today, but having a look at this from a general sector point of view, and where this is priced at the moment and how solid it is financially, I'd say it's a buy as well. But you want to, probably a bit more of a speculative buy rather than a high conviction portfolio buy.
All right, Mark Morland.
I think that was pretty well summed up. What I'd add to it is that it's on a P of 7.7, which is in the bottom half of the green. Mm-hmm. So that's so that actually shows that it is cheap. And I agree there are some quite good values in the resource area. We don't tend to invest in this area, so it's not our area. We like more certainty of returns, and the trouble with resources, they're price takers at the end of the day. And as Mark said, if this happens and that happens, that could be good. All true, but you don't know whether it will or it won't. So At the moment, they're at I'd say fairly strong discount in that they're normally over 11 PE, so there's a 30% discount there, which makes it a lot better if you're interested in the company. It passes all our filters except for stability, which because they had quite a big jump up in 2020 on profitability, then dropped back down again. So it's sort of, which is not unusual in resources. So I'd say, I think I'd agree with that. It's probably, if it appeals to you, it's probably a speculative buy. It's showing a 16% return on equity. It's got virtually no debt, and it's got a solid balance sheet. So I think it's cheap by its normal standing. So a buy for someone who is interested in that kind of business.
All right.
I wouldn't buy it.
Yeah, but you've got a potential speculative buy, just in terms of the name of the game of this show, whether
That's
it's
right,
buy, hold or sell. So kicking off quite strong, different to yesterday when we had a very hard sell on the stock of the day. But of course, the stock of the day, Iluka, both my guests saying a speculative buy. Mark Gardner from MPC Markets saying cheap valuations. Mark Moreland from Team Invest saying at a PE of 7.7 it's cheap, but it doesn't pass the company, or Team Invest I should say, stability filter. But that is of course the stock of the day.
The stock of the day was brought to you by IG. Trade over 12,000 shares and ETFs, including major tech giants with extended hours on an award-winning platform. Get started at ig.com.